Have you ever walked out of your doctor's office, sat down in your car, and had that sinking feeling in your stomach? The feeling that you forgot to ask your most important question? Or maybe you did ask, but you left feeling unheard, unseen, as if your concerns were just another item on a long checklist for a doctor who seemed to have one foot out the door. If you've ever felt rushed, interrupted, or even a little bit dismissed during a medical appointment, I want you to know two things right now. First, you are not alone. And second, it is not your fault. There's a well-known study that is absolutely staggering. It found that, on average, doctors interrupt their patients within the first 23 seconds of them explaining why they're there. 23 seconds. That's barely enough time to say your name and describe a single symptom, let alone paint a full picture of what's been weighing on your mind. This isn't a new problem, but it feels like it's getting worse. The system pressures doctors to see more patients in less time, and for those of us with a few more miles on the odometer, with chronic conditions that have their own stories to tell, that 15-minute slot can feel like an impossible puzzle. And if you've ever told yourself, well, this is just a normal part of getting older, I'm here today, as a geriatrician, to respectfully challenge that idea. Feeling rushed and unheard should never be a normal part of aging or of healthcare at any age. My name is Doctor, and I've spent my career specializing in the health and well-being of older adults. I've sat on both sides of that conversation. I've felt the pressure of a packed schedule, but I've also sat with patients like you and heard the frustration, the anxiety, and the very real fear that something important might be missed. Today, I want to bridge that gap. I'm going to share with you a set of powerful communication tools, 3 specific phrases grounded in proven medical communication strategies that can help you gently but firmly take back a measure of control in your appointments. Now, let's be very clear about something. While I'm calling these magic phrases for their powerful effect, there is no single word that can magically fix a complex and strained healthcare system. These are not incantations. They are conversation starters. They are keys designed to unlock a better, more productive dialogue with your doctor. They are ways to create an opening, to pause the forward momentum of a rushed appointment, and to build the kind of healthcare partnership you deserve. The goal isn't to start a conflict, it's to start a collaboration. Everything we're going to talk about today is supported by research and recommendations from trusted institutions like the National Institute on Aging, the Mayo Clinic, and the Agency for Healthcare Research and Quality. Here's how we'll do it. First, we're going to lay the essential groundwork, the single most important thing you must do before you even step foot in the doctor's office. This step is what makes all the phrases effective. Ben will walk through each of the 3 phrases one by one. I'll explain why each one works, give you real-world examples of how to use it, and share stories of how they've transformed appointments. After that, we'll talk about bringing in reinforcements, a second ear to help you on this journey. And finally, and this is crucial, we'll talk about what to do when, despite your best efforts, the magic just doesn't seem to be working. So please, settle in, grab a cup of tea, and let's begin this journey to a more empowered healthcare experience together. And a quick but important reminder, I am a medical professional, but this video is for informational and educational purposes only. It does not constitute medical advice, and it is not a substitute for a consultation with your own qualified healthcare provider. Every individual's situation is unique, and you should always consult your doctor for any personal health concerns. All right, before we even get to our first powerful phrase, we have to talk about the foundation. Think of it like this. You wouldn't try to build a sturdy house on sand, would you? The same principle applies here. These communication techniques need a solid base to stand on, and that base is preparation. I know it sounds almost too simple, but the power of preparation is consistently ranked as the #1 piece of advice from every major health organization, from AARP to the National Institute on Aging, for a very good reason. It works. Let's picture a common scenario. Maybe it's the night before your appointment. You're sitting at the kitchen table. You have a dozen little worries swirling around in your head. The ache in your shoulder seems worse in the morning. You're having trouble sleeping through the night. You read an article about a side effect of one of your medications, and it's making you nervous. And then there's that one big thing, that nagging concern that you're almost afraid to say out loud. When you get into the appointment, the clock is ticking, the doctor is talking quickly, and that whole cloud of worries just sort of evaporates into a fog of anxiety. You might remember the shoulder ache, but you forget about the sleep issue and that big, scary worry. This is where the concern list comes in. The action step is simple, but transformative. Before your appointment, sit down and write down the top 3 and only 3 health concerns or questions you have. Order them by importance. Your #1, most pressing issue goes at the very top of that list. This simple act does a few incredible things. First, it externalizes your anxiety. Getting those worries out of your head and onto a piece of paper can have a remarkably calming effect. It organizes your thoughts when you're feeling flustered. Second, it shows your doctor that you are an engaged, prepared partner in your own care. And here's the pro tip. Make 2 copies of your list, one for you to hold and one to hand to your doctor or the nurse at the beginning of the visit. You can say something as simple as, "I've prepared a few key things I'd like to discuss today to make sure we make the most of our time." This immediately sets a collaborative tone. It turns the appointment from a rapid-fire interrogation into a shared agenda. I had a patient, a gentleman named Arthur, who was always flustered. He had hypertension and diabetes, and he'd leave his appointments with more questions than answers. He started using the 2-copy list method. He told me later that the first time he handed his list to his doctor, the doctor paused, read it, and said, "Thank you, Arthur. This is incredibly helpful. Let's start with #1. For the first time, Arthur felt like he was in the driver's seat. So that is your foundational step. Never go into an appointment empty-handed. Your concern list is your map. Now that you have that map, let's talk about the first phrase you'll use to make sure you get to your most important destination, even if the doctor is trying to speed past the turn. This brings us to our first phrase, which I call the priority pause. This is the tool you use when you feel the conversation drifting or when the doctor seems ready to wrap things up before you've had a chance to address that #1 item on your list. Imagine this. The doctor has just addressed a minor issue, maybe refilling a routine prescription. They're typing notes into the computer, their head is down, and you can feel them about to say, "All right, everything looks good. We'll see you in 6 months." Your heart starts to pound. This is the moment of truth. A priority pause phrase is designed to be both polite and powerful. It sounds something like this. "Doctor, I know we have a lot to cover, and our time is short, but this next point is my biggest worry right now." Or a slight variation. "Before we move on, there's one thing that's been causing me the most concern, and I'd really appreciate your thoughts on it." Let's break down why this is so effective. The first part of the phrase, "I know we have a lot to cover," or "I know you're busy," is crucial. It acknowledges the reality of the doctor's situation. It shows empathy. You're not being demanding, you're being understanding. This immediately lowers their defenses. But the second part of the phrase, "but this is my biggest worry," or "this is causing me the most concern," is the pivot. It's a gentle but unmissable signal that what you're about to say is not trivial. You are flagging it as the patient's top priority. A good, caring doctor, even a busy one, is trained to listen for these cues. It helps them triage information. In their mind, they're thinking, okay, pay attention. This is what truly matters to the person in front of me. It helps them shift gears from their checklist to your lived experience. I remember a patient, a lovely woman named Carol, who had been experiencing dizzy spells for weeks. She was terrified it might be a sign of a stroke or a heart problem. In 2 separate appointments, she had tried to bring it up, but got sidetracked talking about her arthritis and her blood pressure medication. She was always the last one to speak. The third time, she came prepared. As the doctor was about to conclude, she took a deep breath and said, "Dr. Smith, before I leave, there's one thing that's been truly frightening me. Can we talk about my dizzy spells?" The entire energy in the room changed. The doctor put down his pen, turned to face her fully, and said, "Of course, Carol. Tell me everything." It turned out to be an inner ear issue, easily treatable. But she had spent months consumed by fear because she hadn't had the tool to create that opening. The priority pause is that tool. It carves out a space for your most important concern to be heard. Now, once you've successfully used the priority pause to introduce your main concern, the next step is to explain it in a way that truly connects. This is where many of us falter. We describe a symptom, but not its story. That leads us directly to our second powerful phrase, the impact on daily life statement. This phrase is about translating your medical issue from clinical language into a human story. It's about answering the doctor's unspoken question, why does this matter? Let's be honest. A doctor hears about knee pain 100 times a week. It can become an abstract concept, but your life isn't abstract. Your pain has real-world consequences, and this phrase is how you communicate them. So, instead of just saying, "I have pain in my right knee," you add the impact on daily life statement. It sounds like this. "Doctor, this isn't just about the pain in my knee. It's preventing me from being able to do my grocery shopping by myself." Or the fatigue I'm feeling isn't just a number on a chart. It means I've had to stop volunteering at the library, which was my main social outlet. Another powerful example. This stiffness in my hands isn't just about arthritis. It means I can't open a jar of pickles or button my own blouses anymore, and I'm losing my sense of independence. Do you feel the difference? It's profound. The first statement is a clinical fact. The second is a story about loss of function, loss of social connection, loss of independence. These are the things that matter most in geriatric care. This is what quality of life is all about. When you frame a symptom this way, you are giving your doctor a powerful reason to take it more seriously and to think more creatively about solutions. Suddenly, it's not just about prescribing a painkiller. It might be about referring you to physical therapy, occupational therapy, or exploring assistive devices. Organizations that focus on senior care, like the Bethesda Health Group, consistently emphasize the importance of sharing exactly how your symptoms affect your daily life. It helps the doctor understand the urgency and the true stakes of the problem. I once had a patient who was very stoic, a retired Marine. He came in complaining of shortness of breath. On paper, his initial tests were only mildly abnormal. He was very matter-of-fact about it. "I get a little winded going up the stairs," he'd say. It was easy to downplay. But at a follow-up visit, his daughter came with him, and she used an impact on daily life statement on his behalf. She said, "Doctor, it's not just the stairs. He can no longer walk his dog to the end of the block. He had to give up his weekly fishing trip with his friends because he can't manage the walk to the pier. He's spending most of his day just sitting in his chair." That statement was a lightning bolt. It completely recontextualized his mild symptom. It painted a picture of a life shrinking, of joy being stolen. It prompted us to do more aggressive testing, and we discovered a significant but treatable underlying lung condition. The medical data hadn't changed, but the understanding of its human cost had. That is the power you unlock when you share the story, not just the symptom. So you've used the priority pause to get your doctor's attention on your main concern. You've used the impact on daily life statement to explain why it matters so deeply. The doctor has listened, examined you, and is now proposing a plan. This next part can be the most confusing part of the entire visit. A whirlwind of new prescriptions, instructions, and follow-ups. Ensuring you walk out of that room with crystal clear understanding is paramount, which brings us to our third and final magic phrase, the teach-back technique. The teach-back is without a doubt one of the most effective and underutilized communication tools in all of medicine. It is a simple method to confirm that you have understood the information correctly, and it does so without making you feel like you're being tested. The phrase sounds like this: "Okay, I want to make sure I get this right, so please correct me if I'm wrong. What I hear you saying is that I need to start taking this new water pill every morning. I should eat a banana a few times a week because of it, and I need to call you if my feet start swelling. Is that correct?" Let's analyze the genius of this phrase. Notice it's not, "Can you repeat that?" which can sometimes feel like a demand. Instead, it starts with, "I want to make sure I get this right." This frames it as a check on your own understanding, not a challenge to the doctor's explanation. It's collaborative. You're inviting them to be your partner in confirming the plan. The most important part is the final question. Is that correct? This explicitly asks for confirmation or correction. This technique is a lifesaver for two reasons. First, it immediately clears up any misunderstandings. It's astonishing how often a patient and doctor can walk away from the same conversation with two completely different interpretations of the plan. Maybe you thought the doctor said to take the pill with dinner, not before dinner. Maybe you misheard the name of the specialist you're supposed to see. The teachback catches these potentially dangerous errors in real time. I had a patient who, through a simple teachback, discovered he was about to stop taking a crucial blood thinner when the instruction was merely to reduce the dose. That simple clarification likely prevented a major health crisis. Second, the teachback is not a test of your memory. It's a test of how well the doctor explained the plan. This is a critical distinction. If you can't teach back the information correctly, it often means the doctor used too much medical jargon or spoke too quickly. Your confusion is a signal to them that they need to explain it again, perhaps in a simpler way. The Agency for Healthcare Research and Quality, or AHRQ, a major federal agency, actively promotes the teach-back method as a key strategy to improve patient safety and health literacy. They know how powerful it is, so please, make this a non-negotiable part of every single appointment where a new plan is discussed. It is your right to leave with a plan you fully understand, and the teach-back is your key to ensuring that happens. All right, let's just take a quick pause here. We've covered a lot of ground. We started with the foundational power of creating a prioritized concern list before you ever leave home. Then, we walked through our three core phrases: the priority pause, the impact on daily life statement, and the teach-back technique. These are your tools. This is your strategy for building that partnership. If you're finding this guide helpful, if any of this is resonating with you, I would be so grateful if you took just a moment to tap that like button below this video. It truly helps our channel reach and empower more people just like you. Now, even with the best preparation and the most effective phrases, facing a medical appointment alone can be intimidating. The stress of the situation can make it hard to remember everything, which is why our next point is about bringing in reinforcements. It's about the power of a second ear. I cannot overstate the value of bringing a trusted family member or friend with you to your appointments. This is a strategy recommended by virtually every major health organization, including the Mayo Clinic and the National Institute on Aging, for a multitude of reasons. Think of this person as your co-pilot. First and foremost, they are a second listener. In a stressful environment, it's easy for information to go in one ear and out the other. Your co-pilot can be there just to listen and take notes. While you're focused on asking your questions and describing your symptoms, they can be jotting down the doctor's answers, the names of new medications, and the instructions for follow-up tests. After the appointment, you can review the notes together to make sure you didn't miss anything. Second, they can be your advocate. If you've used a priority pause phrase and still feel like you're being brushed off, a simple, respectful question from your companion, like, "So, just to clarify, you don't think mom's dizzy spells are something we need to investigate further right now?" can be incredibly effective. Sometimes, a question lands differently when it comes from a second person in the room. Now I want to address something I hear from many of my patients. They say, "Oh, I don't want to be a burden on my children," or "My friends are busy. I don't want to bother them." I understand this feeling completely. It comes from a place of consideration and independence. But I want to reframe it for you. Asking for this kind of help is often a gift to your loved ones. They worry about you. They want to help, but often don't know how. Giving them a concrete role, being your appointment buddy, can give them immense peace of mind, knowing they are actively contributing to your well-being. The key is to have a conversation with this person beforehand. Explain their role. Let them see your concern list. You're not giving up your control. You're building a team, and having a teammate in your corner can make all the difference in the world. We've spent our time together building a powerful toolkit for communication. But we have to address the elephant in the room. What happens when you do everything right? You prepare your list, you use the phrases perfectly, you bring a friend, and your doctor is still dismissive. What happens when the magic doesn't work? This is a difficult but essential topic. The exit strategy. The truth is, sometimes a doctor-patient relationship is just not a good fit. And if you consistently leave your appointments feeling small, unheard, and disrespected, it might be more than just a bad day for the doctor. It might be a sign that the relationship itself is unhealthy, and an unhealthy healthcare partnership can be dangerous. Remember that statistic from the beginning. One study estimated that ageism in healthcare, which often manifests as dismissing an older person's concerns, costs the nation $63 billion a year through things like misdiagnosis and improper treatment. Your feeling of being dismissed isn't just about hurt feelings. It has real-world health implications. So what are the red flags to watch for? If your doctor consistently interrupts you, even after you use a priority pause, if they repeatedly dismiss your concerns with phrases like, "What do you expect at your age?" or That's just normal wear and tear. If they seem annoyed by your questions or your use of the teach-back method, if you use an impact on daily life statement and they show no empathy or curiosity, if you consistently leave feeling worse than when you arrived, these are not signs of a busy doctor. These are signs of a bad fit. If this sounds like your situation, I want to give you permission to do something that can feel very radical. It is okay to fire your doctor. You have the right to a healthcare provider who treats you with respect, who listens to your concerns, and who sees you as a whole person, not just a collection of symptoms. The National Institute on Aging is very clear on this. They state that if your doctor regularly dismisses your questions or concerns, it is time to look for a new doctor. Finding a new provider can feel like a daunting task, but it is the ultimate act of self-advocacy. You are the CEO of your own health, and you have the right to hire a team that you trust. Today, we've built a plan for you to walk into your next doctor's appointment feeling not anxious, but prepared. Not powerless, but partnered. Let's quickly recap the incredible tools you now have at your disposal. You have the foundational power of the concern list, which turns anxiety into a clear agenda. You have the priority pause, your respectful tool to ensure your biggest worry gets the attention it deserves. You have the impact on daily life statement, your method for telling the human story behind your symptoms. You have the teach-back technique, your guarantee that you and your doctor are on the same page. You have the strategy of bringing a second ear, your trusted co-pilot for support and clarity. And finally, you have the wisdom to recognize when a relationship isn't working and the courage to seek one that does. This was never about winning a fight or staging a confrontation. This has always been about building a bridge of communication and understanding between you and the person you entrust with your health. The goal is to move from being a passive recipient of care to an active partner in your well-being. That partnership is where the best health outcomes are born. It's where you'll find not only better treatment, but also peace of mind. Now, I would love to hear from you. In the journey we've taken today, which of these concepts or phrases was the biggest aha moment for you? Was it the idea of handing the doctor a copy of your list? Or perhaps the wording of the teach-back technique? Please share your thoughts in the comments below. Reading your experiences helps our entire community learn and grow stronger together. And if you found value in this deep dive and want more content designed to help you navigate your health journey with confidence and clarity, please be sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the little notification bell so you won't miss our next video. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. It's a privilege to be a small part of your journey. Be well, stay empowered, and I'll see you in the next video.